I've got a better idea than that opening.
Oh, pray tell.
I do. I think we should start singing songs. Remember last time when we were doing the country songs?
That didn't go real well, but I'm listening.
I think we can do something.
Wait. What's our webinar called?
Secret Agent Les.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Johnny Rivers.
Johnny Rivers from 1967, 8. So if you're over 40, you're going to know this, but probably not.
You may not.
Wait. Let's get a little guitar accompaniment. All right, here we go.
Ready?
There's a software out there that stops the danger.
Oh, I see where you're going. I'm losing all your data
to a stranger. With every backup it makes, it keeps your data safe. Odds are you'll be saving all your data. Come on, stay with me. Secret
Agent Les.
Secret
Agent Les.
They're giving you a code key and saving away your data. Okay, you got to get synced here, okay? Let's go with it. I got a second verse here, just in case you all thought this was improvisation. It's not. So here we go.
Ready?
Beware of phishing scams in your email. It's just malware to make your business fail. Oh, be vigilant of what you view, or it just might cost you. Odds are they won't get a cent of crypto. Secret
Agent Les.
Secret
Agent Les.
They're giving you a code key and saving away your data. Okay, now that we've been banned from...
That was awful.
You know what? It wasn't even good enough to be awful.
That's true.
That's like some football teams aren't good enough to be bad. They're worse than bad. So, that's what we're here to talk about today, Matthew.
It is?
It is. Secret. Well, it's not really a secret anymore, but it's agentless backup. So go ahead.
Well, hold on.
Wait a minute. We
have to do business before we continue. For those of you who just tuned in, congratulations for missing that song. For everyone else,
we're sorry.
Welcome to another edition of Meet and Geek. My name is Matt. I am joined once again by Robert from Actify.
Yes.
That was fascinating. That was just fantastic.
You know what? There's not a dry eye in the webosphere.
It makes me think of something. I got a little trivia for you. You ready?
I'm afraid.
No, it's secret agent-based trivia.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, ready? What do Pierce Brosnan, George Lazenby, and Lashana Lynch all have in common?
Well, Pierce Brosnan and George Lazenby were both Bond.
Right.
George Lazenby in Her Majesty's Secret Service, and then Pierce Brosnan in the 80s. After the people at Remington Steele let him go to go do it.
Right.
I don't know who, Hosanna Lynch?
Lashana Lynch.
I don't know who that is.
Lashana Lynch.
Was she a Bond girl?
Spoiler alert.
What?
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
If you have not seen No Time to Die, spoiler alert, all three of them have on screen portrayed Agent 007, but not all three were named James Bond.
Oh, you're talking about the last one.
Right.
No, you're right. She did not portray James Bond. She portrayed 007 because they kicked James Bond out of
because he had retired.
MI6 or yeah.
Right. You like that?
Okay. That's a good trivia question because people would go along the James Bond thing. Yeah, but you could George Lazenby.
And how many people remember George Lazenby?
You want to know why I remember George Lazenby?
Why is that?
Because Diana Rigg was the Bond girl in that. Man, Diana Rigg. What?
Yeah. Oh
my God! Just.
You realize we're losing an entire segment of our demographic because they won't remember.
They don't know that. However, Diana Rigg, her last role was, man, I had such a crush on her when I was like 10 years old watching the Avengers. And we're not talking about Marvel's Avengers.
No.
We're talking about the Patrick McNee. Yes.
Very good.
Yes. Anyway, she was, I just had such a crush on her, but she's always been classy and elegant and just wow back then. But anyway, she was in Last Night in Soho.
Oh, okay.
She was the elderly woman in there weren't many characters, so it's easy to keep track, but she was the elderly woman who had the room, and it was like Last Night in Soho, I gave you my heart, and oh wait, that's never mind.
Never mind.
I was having a Venn memory.
We're gonna have to cut a lot of this in post.
Wow. Okay.
Since we're digressing so far, let's get back to it.
Okay.
Secret agentless.
Agentless, no secret. We have a version of Active Image Protector that does not require that you have to have an agent installed on the machine you're backing up. Now, when I say on the machine you're backing up, I'm speaking specifically about the virtual machine you're backing up, because in the past, we offered a virtual, let's go back a little further. We've always had a Hyper-V version, but that consisted of backing up the entire Hyper-V server, including all the virtual machines, because that's all part of that server. The beauty of that was that you were able to restore a single VM back to that same hypervisor or another hypervisor if you needed to recover. So in the event that whole hypervisor or that Hyper-V from Microsoft, that hypervisor machine went down, you had a backup and you rebuilt it, then you could restore single virtual machines back to it. Or if time didn't allow and it was much more urgent, issues were going on that we had to get one or two of those virtual machines, which are obviously servers, back on, you could get another Hyper-V server and restore it to that. But it was a complete backup of the server, and then you had a choice of what to restore, all or parts of it. Now, that was the Hyper-V version. Now, the other virtual machine version, or the virtual edition that we offered in the past, you had to install an agent or the piece of software that provided a means for backup into each and every virtual machine on that specific hypervisor. So you could back it up as a single machine and you could restore it as a single machine. But that involved multiple licenses, additional costs, etc. Blah, blah, blah. So now what we have is called Hyperback, which you can purchase the Hyperback version of Active Image Protector. And I brought props with me. So I am going to share the screen as soon as I find it. Share. I'm going to hide this.
It's a good thing you're computer literate.
I'm computer illiterate. I'm computer illiterate. There you go. I can't do Linux or Windows.
No, very good.
That's tech humor for those of you watching. Okay, thank you. All right. So What I
Hold
have.
on. I've seen this GUI before.
Well, that's because you've used Active Image Protector before.
But there's something different on this one.
What are you trying to say?
Right there at the top, Hyper Agent.
Hyper Agent. Say no more.
Let's see what I noticed.
It's blank because you know what? Nothing's been done here. However,
No.
if this was sitting on a hypervisor, which it is, but it's a Windows 10, it needs to be a server. We go to backup. Now all of a sudden you see a third choice between after volume backup and file backup. We now have Hyperback, which is a clever combination of two, Hyper-V and backup. So Hyperback. It's like saying Benifer. I don't know why I said that. Forgive me. Okay, for all you pop culture fans, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what happens is when we're doing a backup, we click on Hyperback.
Right.
And you have a choice. Now, here's the beauty of it. Yeah, AIP needs to be installed because you got to have a point of control, a single point of management of scheduling and performing backups, etc. However, as you can see, your first choice is to select a hypervisor, or you can add a hypervisor if one doesn't pop up. And as long as you're on the same network, you have access to those because you're obviously an administrator. You have access to it. So when you select a hypervisor, you can select one of two types. You're not limited to Microsoft's Hyper-V. You could be using VMware ESXi and target that machine and let Active Image Protector, because you haven't installed anything to that machine, but you're using this because we're taking advantages of the API calls within both environments, VMware and Microsoft Hyper-V. So once you select one, please select the hypervisor. So I've got to drop down, but there's not going to be anything there because I'm not connected to a server-based hypervisor right now. But that's the beauty of it. You don't have to relearn because it's just added into the backup within the dashboard. Okay?
And this will take us through all of the same steps that we've been doing.
Exactly. All the other things that are there, destination, you set the schedule, it tells you the summary. All the choices are there for replication, cloud replication. If you're backing up this data to a cloud where you have AWS and you have, what is the AWS, Wasabi, and Azure, Microsoft Azure, or you could use a secure FTP site. So if you have that going on, now again, we're talking straight backup. We're not talking backup first and then replicate later. We're talking straight backup right now directly to a cloud storage service.
How does this benefit me? I'm a small business with one server. My server's crashed. How am I going to get stuff back right now? Because I'm open for business.
Okay, but
I need it.
If your server has crashed, you should be able to hook up and get Active Image Protector on there. You still have access to the cloud as long as your connection to the cloud is intact. You should be able to. You have one of two things. You can do a recovery directly from the cloud to something on site, or if you have it's called a host service at the cloud, because most clouds are just used for storage. It's a place to keep stuff. So if your office burns down or gets eaten up by a sinkhole or an earthquake, and it takes time to get things back going, you have everything intact up on the cloud. If you have a host service, you can get a machine for a nominal fee. I don't even think it's a nominal. It's an extra cost. You're going to have the host service. You can create a virtual machine up there and have everyone access that once you restore. So that's a cloud restore as well. So,
but how can I switch over to a hypervisor?
Well, it is technically, the cloud is a hypervisor.
Okay.
It creates virtual machines up there for you once you want to do the restore. So,
and how do I recover that?
Well, that's being recovered up there. You're just, instead of, while you're busy trying to repair or replace that physical machine you had in your office, your workers can continue to work through the cloud as if there is a server there sitting on the premises. And that's how you do it. You do a restore in the cloud. Cloud creates a machine. You restore your data to that, and a few checks and configurations here and there. Everybody's back up running, but instead of just communicating with that server room down the hall in the cold closet, you're communicating directly to the cloud with the last point of restore or last point of backup that you had. So
sounds like I'm working everything in real time.
It is. It is in real time. You know, again, if you're using a 14.4, all right, I'm sorry, tech people out there, 14.4 BPMS modem, bits per second modem. Yeah, I'm sorry to throw that in there. I won't even mention ISDN. Okay, so you're going to have a solid connection to the cloud, obviously, because you're using it to do backups to. And you're going to say to yourself, well, let's do this whole cost analysis. What's it going to take to just rent a machine up there for now? And would we be better off just keeping it there? So you could do a migration up there and restore up there and just keep the connection to the cloud all the time. There are some places that it's more cost effective to just subscribe to a cloud service that's going to host a machine for you. And that's where you do your backup and restore to and from. But again, in your scenario, it's a small office. You've got like this big Gorilla server. It's a Dell or HP or some other brand. And somehow the smoke comes out. But you've been very diligent about doing backups, performing backups. And you have a backup that just completed last night at 3 a.m. And you just restore to a machine in the cloud and set all the connections for everyone to continue their work. The user knows nothing different. They see nothing different. Right. But you, on the other hand, saying, instead of working at the server down the hall to do our transactions, we're doing it directly from the cloud. Everything you can do here, you can do from the cloud here. In fact, there's a lot of business. I've had a couple of phone calls in which people are migrating to, they're dropping their in-house servers because they're not so, like you, they're not so huge that they can have a full-time IT guy on the premises. And farming that out and calling a guy, it's 3-4 days before he gets there, maybe a week later before he gets there. Right. And if it's the server, things got to start happening. So if you're in the cloud, they've already got, depending on the hosting service, they've got things in place that if somehow the virtual machine up there fails, they've got their own system that picks up where it left off up there. So you don't ever have to worry about it because you're paying a subscription that's basically saying this will be up no matter what time of day, no matter what's happening on the ground. This will be up and you will have access to it and you can continue doing business. All right. So that's the hypervisor with selecting Hyperback. And again, as I explained earlier, you don't have to install the backup agent to every virtual machine. You just install it somewhere that has access to that hypervisor, or you can install it onto that hypervisor and back up individual virtual machines on your own. Now I'm going to go back to this real quick before I forget. If you go to recovery, you'll see that there are two more. There's hyper recovery. You can recover agent or agentless, agent-based or agentless backup images to virtual machines on hypervisors or virtual machines in the cloud. And there's hyper recovery live. What that basically means is you can boot backup images in a hypervisor as a virtual machine. And while that's happening, and people are working on it, I would not recommend that you leave it that way, but what's nice is that you can still make transaction, access that server directly from the backup as a virtual machine while you're restoring it.
Ah.
So
well, that's what I need.
Yeah,
that's what I need if I'm business hours are running.
Yeah, it's a good idea because you the machine boots up off of the backup. The virtual machine will boot up off of the backup you've created, and we're all hoping your last incremental backup was at 2:00 this morning,
right
before we opened Biz for Business, and everybody's running now. Something nobody seems to ask, but then if you start thinking about it, you're going, well, wait a minute. What happens? Okay, yeah, we're making changes to the backup. I understand it through the virtual machine. Now we're making changes. We're doing transactions. Things are being written. But what happens once we finish the restore and the recovery? That's the one that we took at 2 a.m.
Right.
Never fear, because all those changes that are being made while it's in this hyper recovery live stage, those are all being saved to a differential file. And once the restore is complete, it takes and imports that differential file into the new virtual machine that you've created.
Right.
That's replacing the failed machine while you still continue to do work. So your business has not been interrupted, and nor will you have to do anything special to get anything you've done during the course of that business since the failure, because your business continuity has not been broken or interrupted. And when we bring the recovery of the machine back up online, all the changes that were being made throughout the course of the day are going to be placed back in there. So you've recovered everything up to the time you say, okay, everyone go home, log out, go home. And everything's up to date at that point. So you're not losing anything.
Protecting the active image.
Exactly. The active image stays active and you're protecting it. Very good. I never thought of that. That's nice. Did you just come up with that yourself? Or
I did.
Did you stay up all night and think I could use this?
No. I just came up with it.
Wow. Anyway, so that's agentless in a nutshell. I hope I explained that well enough for everyone to understand.
I think you did.
Okay, well, I'm going
to all right.
Stop sharing.
If anyone needs more information, Robert, how can they get it?
They're going to get it from our website, actify.com, where we will have a link to this video on there, and we will have information about agentless and hyperback, and we'll have links to this video, and shortly we should have an entire demonstration on how this hyperback works, because I've been putting up how-to videos.
Okay.
On what to click, where to go, and explains a little bit here and there. Some people like watching videos. Some people like reading. Some people like people I've known. They just throw the manual out and figure, okay, I'll follow it along and see where it takes me.
Click the buttons.
Yes, I like clicking buttons.
All right. Is there a social media presence where we can find Actify?
Twitter. Actify USA, and on Facebook, Actify USA.
All right,
and read the stuff there. You'll find some of it amusing, but it always comes back to simple: Actify and Active Image Protector.
All right, so that'll wrap things up for this edition of Meet and Geek.
And let's apologize now for those of you who were offended by our rendition of Secret Agent Man by Johnny Rivers.
Apologies to Johnny Rivers.
Rest in peace, Johnny Rivers. He did pass, didn't he?
We better check that.
We better check that. I don't want to start any rumors.
No.
Okay. Very good.
All right, so that'll wrap it up. My name is Matt.
I'm Robert.
That is Robert.
I'm Robert.
Actify.
Yes.
Thanks for joining, and until we see each other again, take care.
Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.